And now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Where 3 Months of My Life Went.
Oh my god! I'm chasing the dragon! I'm chasing the dragon! I am literally chasing the dragon!
Now that you're all traumatized, video games. Well, here's a video I never thought I'd make. Or at least I didn't think I'd be making it for like a few years. You know, after FromSoft could actually, pump out a few more titles for us. Which, by the way, this video is actually a direct sequel to this one here. Just saying, it might be a good idea to catch this one first if you haven't, if you got the time to spare. Bless the algorithm. But yeah, I figured this was a topic I could put to rest for a little while after I made that first video. Then I remembered what I said during the Demon Souls section. They've done some outstanding work, so yeah, I bet this will be really cool. I'll totally play this when it drops. I'll even try to get a review in if I can. Ha! Everyone laugh at this blue-haired idiot. How am I this dumb? Yeah, the reason that video never came out was, probably pretty obvious, but after 2 long years, I was finally able to please the Sony gods and get my hands on a PS5, a copy of Demon Souls, and, this other game I've heard people talk about. I guess it's supposed to be a big deal right now. Old Man Bling.
Call me on the set.
That's right, it took me so damn long to get this game that a whole other one came out in the meantime. But yeah, since we have a bit more to talk about than just the Demon Souls remake, let's call this video more of an addendum? My god, of all the games to get the remake treatment, I never really imagined it'd be this one. Well, not that I wasn't sure we'd get some kind of update for Demon Souls, because, the original game... But I figured Sony would probably do just like a standard port or a basic remaster, like they did for the OG Dark Souls on the 8th gen consoles. When the time came for Demon Souls to get that treatment, I figured they wouldn't, spring for it, but instead, they went whole hog on this one and gave it the complete remake treatment from the bottom up. Again, mostly as an excuse to, get you to buy this fucking thing.
I mean, it worked though.
But yeah, after no small amount of blood, sweat, and tears, I did finally get my hands on this bad boy. So, how does it fare? Well, the very first thing I can say is that, holy cow, graphically, this thing is gorgeous. Not only when compared to the first game, which, let's be real, isn't even fair, but just in general, they prettied this sucker right up. The level design is still basically untouched, but they put so much thought and detail into how to make the environments feel more like their original intentions. And the game has a darker, moodier, even more threatening feel to it as a result. I've heard some critics argue that this actually changes the tone of the game a lot. Some would say even too drastically, and it just doesn't have that same Demon Souls feel. But well, I can't help but feel like that tone needed some adjusting, personally. I mean, that's more just my own personal preference. I do actually see where a lot of those folks are coming from on this. But just on raw aesthetics alone, on the sheer level of detail, this game is just beautiful. No matter how tonally faithful it is or not, it sure is pretty. Character designs have been improved as well. The character creator is on a whole other level. I'm seriously impressed. Demon Souls' original character creator is... Let's not even sugarcoat it, it's trash. But not only did they improve the look and quality of the assets they had, they just exploded your available options and choices here. There's so much more you can do with your basic character build. Sure, the more ghoulish creations probably aren't as fun to make as in the original game, maybe. We still got a decent episode of Monster Factory out of this. It ain't no big deal.
My next-gen experience. They're making a pee-pee person.
That's great representation.
And you know, it's proof that the team at Bluepoint were certainly committed, because for such a small factor of the game, to see them pour this much love and care into it was definitely a promising first sign. The overall look and feel of this game is so much more improved in my opinion. If nothing else, it is probably the prettiest Souls game to officially come from FromSoft at this point. The amount of extra polish that went into this title is absolutely insane. And I think no matter how you feel about the redesigned graphics, we can all agree that if there was one thing Demon Souls was definitely lacking, it was polish. Even from a technical standpoint, there's been a huge amount of polish added to this title. Online actually works now! Oh, y'all, it used to be such a mess trying to get anything done in online play. It was complicated and really hard to match with your friends or people you actually wanted to play with who weren't just random strangers. And even when you could figure out how to connect to the people you wanted to connect to, it was far from the most stable or reliable experience. This game, thankfully they've cut all of the BS out. The password-based online system that they've been using for a lot of other games has just been kind of shimmied into this one, and it works just fine. Online play is simple, smooth, and easy to understand. It's pretty much as functional as you could ask for, and it's all around a pretty much solid, great time. Unless you get invaded, and then Jesus fucking Christ, dude, come on! Hey, and speaking of things that just work, load times. Dying in classic Demon Souls really hurts because the loading times alone were absolutely brutal on PS3. Minutes, whole minutes you'd spend between deaths just waiting for another chance to go, and given some of the long elaborate treks you have to take to even get to most of the bosses, oh god, I still have PTSD from trying to get another whack at that goddamn flame lurker. This game though, I swear to god, I don't think I had a single load time that lasted longer than 6 seconds. It's lightning fast. I'm frankly impressed at how quick the game is able to snap back into action. And man, that alone makes playing the game so much easier. I mean, you aren't going to be dying any less, but at least you don't have to spend nearly as much time in the post-death waiting room. And speaking of dying, you want to know something that really helped me out in this particular game? That multi-directional rolling! Baby, it's finally here! I tend to play Souls games with a very rumbly-tumbly style. I love dodging around motherfuckers. So rolling is everything to a guy like me. I gotta have an effective rolling in order to be good at these games. In the original, you can only roll in 4 directions. It's hard for me to put into words, it's a big game feel thing. But the 4-directional rolling, god, it makes certain bosses, like the goddamn man-eaters on the bridge, almost impossible in the original. But now? Well, it's still pretty close to impossible. But it makes their boss fight and a lot of other battles in this game just so much less hassle. Having the added mobility to avoid enemies and obstacles is just a chef's kiss. I mean, god, there's just so many quality of life improvements to this title. If the purpose of this game was to serve as a banger-ass launch title to help showcase what the PS5 is capable of, I'd say it's done its job very well. Even the way it implements DualSense is just really cool. I gotta give props to that too. The DualSense controller has easily been the talk of the town when it comes to the PS5, and this being the first game I got to try with it, yeah, I completely understand why. This is cool as shit, y'all. The clarity of the speaker as the dings and dangs of blocked attacks echo through it, the different levels and types of vibration you experience depending on the environment you're in, from the rumbling of earthquakes to even the gentle patter of raindrops, like, it's nuts how many different types and styles of haptic feedback this controller is able to provide. It's really is the HD rumble that Nintendo tried to advertise, but you know. And the feedback on the triggers especially, that is, wow, I still have trouble believing it, frankly. It's so cool. For actions like pulling back an arrow on your bow, for example, you actually feel the trigger tighten and clench up once you've drawn all the way back, and you can tell your bow is ready to fire when you feel the click. Again, it's one of those things that's hard to put into words exactly, but just having the controller in your hands and feeling it is just so cool. Honestly, playing this game with a DualSense really does help make the experience that much more immersive and fun. Yeah, it's all gimmicks and shit, but they are really, really cool gimmicks at the end of the day. Credit where credit is due. Overall, there is just so much to like about this remake. It's like driving an old restored hot rod from the 60s. It's sleek, shiny, and the motherfucker almost feels brand new again. So given all these cool little bells and whistles and these wonderful quality of life improvements, where do I put this on the how to get into ranking scale? Where does it go exactly? Yeah, no, I'm not moving this game an inch. It stays right there in deeper digging, folks. Because, you know, at the end of the day, holy shit. It's a prettier Demon's Souls, but this game is still Demon's Souls to its very core. And again, credit where it's due to Bluepoint for all the polish they added, but this is a remaster in the truest original sense. Outside of the aesthetics and a few minor quality of life improvements, they didn't change a thing. I mean, yeah, the game looks and runs like a restored old hot rod, but when you actually get in the driver's seat of a hot rod, you realize there's some stuff in those old cars that are just outdated and wonky and arguably don't need to be there anymore. And that's what this game is like too. It's still Demon's Souls, still has all of those Demon's Souls quirks to it, and make no mistake, this game still hates you. All of the original systems that made the game such a pain in the ass, the world tendency, the downright cruel checkpoint system where you have to run through the entire level and beat the boss before you can have another one. Everything about this game that was cruel, unusual, and just kind of annoying, it's all still here, and it's all still evil. I have to admit I am two minds about this. I understand how some folks wouldn't want the game feel altered so that it feels true to its source. And make no mistake, they did a good job of that. The game still feels like Demon's Souls. But again, for how to get into purposes, I just gotta be bluntly honest with you. Running through this game all over again for the first time in a while reminded me how fucking needlessly brutal this game can be. Like, man, yeah, it's a familiar feeling, but that familiar feeling still kinda sucks. I mean, like it or lump it, this is still Demon's Souls, from skin to core. In fact, a few things in this game have been made even more painful. You can no longer grass tank. In the original, whatever challenge it threw at you, there was one strategy that you could always keep in your back pocket. You farmed up as much lovely healing grass as you wanted for any situation, and no matter what a boss was giving you, at the very least, you could take an entire garbage bag full of lawn clippings into your boss fight and just heal yourself stupid to get through it. And they took that away from you. Now not only is grass hard limited, you can only carry so much of it at any one time, it has weight too! too. So you have to take that into account as well. To be fair, the amount caps aren't unreasonable or anything, but still, y'all made me switch from my lovely cheese plate to a side salad, and fuck you, Bluepoint, I'll eat what I want. There were even a few things left in the remake that I'm frankly just kinda baffled by, like the broken archstone is still here. You know, the fabled 6th level of Demon Souls that wasn't made accessible because the devs just ran out of time, so they stuck a big lore band-aid on the thing. The original intention here might have been to eventually patch a brand new 6th level in as DLC. I mean, it's basically all but set up to do that, frankly. But the game's been out for 2 years now, and like, not to say it still couldn't happen, who knows, maybe they'll surprise us one day, but, and if that's the case, then honestly, I kind of wish they wouldn't have even bothered, frankly. I would have preferred they spent the development time on something else, like not locking the new items behind pre-order bonuses. But overall, outside of those little bugbears, I'd say the game as a whole still absolutely holds up. It's an interesting and gorgeous new way to play an old classic, and honestly, I'd say this is the definitive way to play Demon Souls now. The original game isn't without its charm, mind, but unless you just still absolutely cannot get your hands on a PS5, which to be fair is still a really good excuse, I'd honestly say there's very little reason to go back to the original. But even all that being said, the game is still an absolute bastard of a title, and the devs have made it clear that they had no intention of changing anything about this game that wasn't bastardy. Demon Souls is Demon Souls, no matter what you do to it, and because of that, it's gonna stay right there in deeper digging. I would say if you just have to play Demon Souls and you can get your hands on a PS5, this is the way to do it. I mean, God, it just makes the original PS3 version look so much more janky by comparison. I don't know, once you try this, it'll be hard to go back to all that jank, I'm just saying. But still, I gotta drive this point home. Do not make this your first Souls title, people. Under no circumstances should this be the first Souls game you play. There is zero reason to make this your first Souls title. Especially now that we have... Okay, here we go. Main event time. Elden Ring. My God, this game. I was surprised to see how mainstream the game has gotten. It looks like just about everyone and their dog has finally hopped on the train with this one. I mean, do I even need to make this video? Low-key, y'all kinda beat me to the punch on this. But, you know, after spending way too many hours playing this title, I mean, I can pretty much confirm all the hype is real on this one, folks. It's a good'un. Straight certified good'un. This game is truly as good as they say it is. If you have something you can play this thing on, yeah, absolutely, you should go for it. But why, though? What makes it so good specifically? Let's try to break some of those reasons down, shall we? I feel like the best way to describe this title in particular is it's like a Dark Souls game that exploded. Okay, maybe that's not the best way to put it. This game just feels like every single thing that Dark Souls has done over the years, all put into one title, along with a bunch of new ideas and even some more ideas on top of that. Like, all of those ingredients were just stuffed into this thing like a calzone, and the thing just popped in the oven. There's so much game here. This game honestly feels like 3 or 4 Souls titles all crammed into one package. By the way, just for the record, I did spend most of my time with this game on the PS4 copy, but since I have a PS5, and this game comes with a free upgrade, neither here nor there, you know, save yourself a couple of bucks. I was able to spend some of my New Game Plus time on the PS5 version of the game. Honestly, there's not too much to go into there. Obviously, the textures and whatnot are a bit lower quality, and the frame rate isn't quite that same buttery smooth 60 you get on next gen. But even on the PS4, it never really dipped below 30. Even on my old decrepit as hell, originally bought used, close to 8 years old, I think this thing is. I'm amazed it's still running, frankly. But even on my old PS4, the game still runs and looks beautiful. But whether you're playing it next gen or last gen, so you know, you don't have to upgrade to get a good experience with this title. It's a great game no matter what system you're playing it on. But the biggest difference to me between the current gen and the next gen versions, 2 words: load times. On the older hardware, the load times were actually probably one of my biggest complaints. They were never that bad, but there was a consistent time between deaths or moving between certain big areas where it would take a good 15 to 20 seconds to get back into the game, sometimes upwards of 30 or 40. But on PS5, again, nothing. Almost instantaneous. Like, I wouldn't say this game is a reason to upgrade to next-gen hardware, but I will say it flies. It absolutely is greased lightning on a PS5, a Series X, or an upgraded PC. If you have the hardware to play this thing on, you're golden. Ha! But back to the calzone. Yeah, this game is just bursting with content, people. There is so much to explore in Elden Ring. Now, Dark Souls games have always been open-ended, but it's more open-ended with quotation marks around it, you know? In your typical Souls game, you can go wherever you want, but the places you can go are more like a selection of different corridors than they are a truly open world. It's like a branching path system. You can take Route A or Route B, but those routes will connect you to different routes, and a lot of times those routes will intersect and loop into each other in interesting ways. But you are stuck on the track. You're taking those routes no matter what. It's like driving on the interstate. You can get off on any exit you like, but look, homie, you're staying in those lanes no matter what, unless you want to have a bad time. Elden Ring, on the other hand, they just said, fuck it, let's go off-roading, dude. Elden Ring is the first Souls game that is a full sandbox. And, well, you know, to some that might actually sound like a turnoff. Honestly, at first, that kind of sounded like a turnoff to me, just because, like, every fucking game is a sandbox these days. But no, make no mistake here, this isn't like a freaking Ubisoft game. This game does sandbox exploration right, and so much of it is due to the environmental design. Everything is bright and lush and vibrant, and every new area has its own distinct features, quirks, and color palettes, and there's just so much to find out there in the wild. I mean, yeah, there is a main quest to follow, one which the game straight up outlines for you, but I defy a first-time player to even remotely stay on that path. This game outright discourages you from staying on the straight and narrow path. It begs you to look around and see what's out there in the environment. And the thing is, too, this isn't done via the usual means in a lot of other sandbox titles, you know, the side quest checklists or the NPCs putting little dots on your map. No, so much of the exploration and the side questing is done just purely organically. You stumble on the side quests by going in the direction you're supposed to go, seeing something way off in the distance, and "Oh, fuck is that, man?" And then you just sprint off in the opposite direction like a cat towards a laser pointer. Ooh, shiny! I think this game may have genuinely given me ADHD. But that's the thing, the game makes you want to explore, because nearly every time you do it, you find something cool. Whether it's a cave full of new enemies and equipment, a hidden puzzle with tons of new loot, a new NPC with something to give you. Don't even tell me you didn't jump for joy when you met the Turtle Pope. Do not tell me you did not lose your shit when you met the Turtle Pope. He's the new Pope now. You eat shit. Go to hell. Bestest boy. Or you may even find new crafting materials out in the world to help you build newer and stronger equipment. I honestly haven't felt this immersed in a sandbox since... Well, okay, let me address that quick little elephant. Yes, there's a crafting system. I know. But I can say that, like, this is... Honestly, this feels like a crafting system done right, or at the very least, it's so non-intrusive it's not even that much of a factor, really. Nothing costs more than 2 or 3 ingredients to make. Most of the items aren't terribly hard to find, with the exception of some, like, ultra rare stuff. And most importantly, crafting isn't really necessary. It's just another means to acquire certain items and equipment that you can usually find in other places if you're resourceful enough, or you don't mind spending a few runes just to get them. All you have to do is find the recipe books out in the wild, or buy them from these merchants, you know, the guys on the first one looks like Santa Claus. You know, look out for these guys. They're your buds. Pro tip, kill them. It's a great way to acquire materials without having to gamble on whether you'll need the souls it would have cost to buy them for something else down the line. You know, it's a thrifty option. And us cheap bastards appreciate that. I love how they made the item you use to summon friends in multiplayer only require one type of resource. They made that resource extremely easy to spot in the wild and just covered the entire map with the things. You will never, ever run out of these Erdleaf flowers, and as a result, you will never, ever run out of summoning materials. And that, y'all, I can't even tell you how awesome that is to have in a Souls game. I mean, you're always fretting in these games whether you have the humanity you could spare on a summon, or the insight, or those goddamn effigies from Dark Souls 2. I still have nightmares about Dark Souls 2 and those goddamn effigies. It feels like a lot of care and consideration was put into the crafting system. It wasn't just thrown in because that's what everybody else is doing. It genuinely feels like something that benefits the game. And if you don't want to use it, by no means, you can 100% get through this game and hardly have to craft anything. It probably took so much time, energy, and brainstorming to make a crafting system that didn't feel either tacked on and necessary, or just a pain in the ass that you have to lug around with you in order to play the game. They found that cozy little balance where it works, but doesn't break the game. And I haven't played another game that came this close to it, at least, since... Another cool thing I should talk about, Spirit Ashes. So, multiplayer. Always been a plus of the Souls games ever since the beginning. And here, the multiplayer is still great, you know, use your thingy, call your buddies, kill the guy's face off. But here's the cool thing, even if you don't want to play online, or you don't have the capabilities to play online, that doesn't mean you don't get to summon. Man, these things are cool. I loved these. They're little NPC helpers that you can summon into battle with you during certain battles. And most of them are pretty great. Souls has always been one of those games where the bosses don't know what to do if there's more than one of you. The best kind of cheese is the cheese we make together. And these Spirit Ashes can be great helps during those particularly tough battles, or even during those moments where you really need a hand, but absolutely no one will come through in the summon signs, like, ugh. Looking at you, Melania! Again, it's another one of those nice little touches. You never have to use these at all if you don't want to, but they're there, they're on the table, and it makes for an interesting new way to play a Souls title. And I love how they implemented these, for the most part at least. If I do have a complaint about Spirit Ashes, it's that they are very limited in how you can use them. You're really only allowed to use them in very specific areas or with certain bosses. It's not something you can just break out any old time. They do kind of limit what you're able to do with these. But even in such a limited capacity, they're still a lot of fun to break out, and some of them are just absolute must-gets. Some of these things are just straight up broken. Pro tip, mimic tier ashes. Find them, love them, be them. And speaking of good boys, Horsey! You can't have an open world sandbox without a means of transportation, and your mount, Torrent? Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's just about perfect for a game like this. He's very quick, he's very effective in combat. Hell, for some enemy encounters, he's practically mandatory. I fucking dare you to face a dragon without him. And he's absolutely essential for getting to more difficult areas of the map. His double jump is great as both a tool for exploration and in combat as well. A well-timed double jump is an excellent form of dodging, particularly against some of those bigger, badder foes. Like, combat on horseback is so much fun, but you do have to be careful, especially around a lot of the stronger enemies, as you can get knocked off of Torrent, and Torrent can even die if he takes enough punishment. And when that happens, try not to do that. He's a fantastic addition to the game, and my only real complaint about him is that, man, his movement can be jerky at times. He has a wide turning radius. He always seems to move a little bit faster or just a little bit jerkier than I think he's going to. Which isn't a big deal like 90% of the time, but there are a few instances where they expect you to do precise platforming on Torrent, and like, he's a little too twitchy for this. Oh, and by the way, double jumping doesn't cancel your fall momentum. No one's OP against gravity. And like, y'all, I don't know, I feel like I could talk all damn day about everything cool that's in this game. Pretty much everything they added to the formula is great, and all the old stuff is not only here as well, but they improved upon it. Soul Arts from Dark Souls 3, or whatever they're calling it in this game, I don't really care, make a return. And not only are they back, but you can customize what Soul Arts you put on your weapon as well. Do you love your big beefy samurai sword, but wish it shot lightning, or pierced shields, or leached HP off your enemies? Now it can. There's just more of everything in this game. More NPCs to find in the world, more quests to take on, more environments to explore, more cool optional bosses to fight, even more endings. 6 endings in this game, people. Holy shit, that is a lot for a Souls title. And most of them take you down very interesting, fun, and sometimes very disturbing paths in order to get them. Fair warning, if you want the 3 fingers ending, you better be sure that's the ending you want, because if you change your mind, whoo boy, are you in for a romp, amigo. If I don't draw the line somewhere in my discussion, my ass is just never gonna stop talking. Y'all know I already got a tendency to ramble. Let me get to the point on this. Would I recommend this game? Absolutely. Yes, 100%. But if I do have one major complaint about this game, and this is gonna sound really strange, but try to follow me on this, there's just too much game here, you know? Again, this felt like 3 or 4 Souls games all smushed into one, not just in size, but in content too, and like, man, I was just feeling burnt out by the end. I have trouble just getting one Souls game into my usual routine, you know? I'm just saying, if you try to take in everything this game has, it's probably gonna be a little overwhelming. And if you ain't trying to, like, lose an entire month of your life to this game, I can see where that might be a drawback. Seriously, I needed a support group to get me out. It's not perfect. It certainly does have a lot of little nitpicky flaws, but I don't know, they're like fleas on the back of an adorable dog. I don't like the fleas, but I love this adorable little doggo, and this motherfucker's getting scritches. So where does it go on the how to get into scale? Yeah, just dead ass. Top of the list. In fact, not only would I put this in must plays, I think this is probably the first Souls game you should try out. It's a big game, but the fact that one of my biggest complaints is that there's too much of a good thing here, I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know. It's easily the most user-friendly Souls game. I feel like anyone could play this and at least get a few decent hours out of it. There's a lot more here to help accommodate new players to its playstyle. And like, given the fact that this game has already introduced so many more people to the Souls series, so many people have used this as their entry point into Souls games. I mean, like I say, do I even need to make this video? Yeah, of course this is a must play. Everybody out here playing it. But in that case, just let me put the cherry on top. Elden Ring has proven that this is the Souls game to help get people into Souls games. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this to newbies. But do you know who I'd recommend this game to even more so than Souls players or even new players? There's one group of people I would recommend this game to, outside of even them. People who liked Breath of the Wild. This game is basically Dark Souls Breath of the Wild edition. So much of this game reminded me of Breath of the Wild. The way it organically encourages you to explore, the simple but well-implemented crafting system, the challenge dungeons you can just stumble upon randomly and have a great old time with, the seamless way you traverse the map. Honestly, I feel like I'd recommend this to Breath of the Wild players before I'd even recommend it to Souls folks. You can tell they took one look at what Nintendo did with that game and furiously began taking notes. But fair play to them, even though I definitely smell Breath of the Wild's breath on this thing. And those of you that were wowed by Breath of the Wild's gorgeous environments, intriguing combat, and massive sense of wonder, and those of you whose asses are going numb waiting for the sequel to finally come out, I sincerely encourage you to check this one out and see if it sticks. It's a much darker vibe than you're probably used to, but like, all of the elements are there, and who knows, this may just be the door to open you to a lot more fun, interesting, and unique games in the future. This could be the entryway to a whole series of wonderful titles. So yeah, 100%, I would recommend you check out Elden Ring. If you want to get into Dark Souls, this is the game you play. Thanks again for watching, y'all. I'm Crash Thompson, and I'll see you when I see you.